Good morning, church. It is such a joy to be with you today. I was here several months ago, and Pastor Bob interviewed me right here on the stage. I'm so grateful for his kind invitation for me to come and to share with you today what God is doing in the church in Ukraine and through the Ukrainian church around the world. These several short video clips that you seen and all these slides that you see on the screens right now are all taken from my home city of Kharkiv, second largest city in Ukraine in the northeast. And this is our reality on a daily basis. Very unfortunately, the news of the war in Ukraine have faded away from the major news outlets here in the United States, but it does not mean that the war stopped. On the contrary, our nation of now about 29 million people is still standing against the nation of 150 million people. And yesterday marked the 500 days from the start of the war. And this war continues to take hundreds and hundreds of lives of my countrymen daily. We woke up at 5 a.m. on February 24, 2022, to the sound of the explosions all around us. Our entire apartment building was shaking, and we realized that it was no longer safe for us to continue to stay on the 8th floor of our concrete apartment building. And so when the first round of shelling stopped, my wife and I, we took little things in a little, backpacks each, and we made our way to a shelter. Our shelter was the basement of our church building. When we came to the church, we found that the basement was already packed with people from the community who ran to cover just like us. And we thought we'd stay there for just a couple of hours, wait till it's over and go back home. Well, we ended up living there in a small, tiny room with two more families with little children for a whole week. We slept on the floor, we didn't have access to a shower, we even couldn't take our winter clothes off. Not because it was cold as it was, but because you always, day and night, you have to be dressed, you have to be ready to run if rockets come hitting around your building. A week later, with just a backpack each, we took a train to a safer place in the western part of our country. For 20 years before the war, I pastored a wonderful church which we called New Hope. And we had a unique ministry with international students. Every year before the war, over 80,000 international students from about 150 nations of the world would come to Ukraine for their bachelor's and master's degrees. And in my church, we had students from more than 20 nations. We ran our church services in the English language. We discipled them, and when the war began, we actually hosted several dozen international students in our basements for the first 3-4 nights, and we would make sure that all of them would be able to leave Ukraine to safer European bordering countries. And thankfully, they all left. And on the first Sunday of the war, I walked into my sanctuary, which would always be full of people and laughter, and there was not a single person there. The ministry of more than 20 years was over. On the one hand, I was happy that all of my congregation, everybody from my congregation was able to leave for safety. But also I had a flood of emotion, and my wife and I, we felt that we could now travel ourselves to a safer area of Ukraine. So we took a long 30-hour train ride to the west. And the moment that train, it was called the evacuation train, packed with hundreds and hundreds of people. And the moment that train left the station, all of us sitting in that wagon, men and women alike, simultaneously began to weep, because all of us felt that we're being torn away from the life which we knew. But we also felt that we now have a chance to escape danger. A month later, we had to make a decision that one of us had to stay alive. And my wife literally walked across the border from Ukraine into Romania and flew here to the United States, where our only daughter was a freshman at the university. I was able to follow her 4 long months after. So during these 500 days, hundreds of Ukrainians have been tortured. Thousands and thousands of Ukrainians have been killed. 14 million Ukrainians became refugees. Over 200 Baptist churches had to shut down completely. Over 50 Baptist churches were completely destroyed. So how not to despair? How not to lose hope? How not to begin to doubt the goodness and power of the Lord in the midst of such suffering? And there is one lesson that I learned, a very important lesson. Every time those air raid sirens go off, every time I feel the sentence of death because of the incoming missile, every time I had to learn to follow Jesus Christ as my good shepherd, who walks through the valley with me. And today I want to encourage you to begin to learn to follow Jesus Christ, the good shepherd, in your life's valleys. There is a beautiful psalm, Psalm 23, which has been an encouragement to millions of people throughout generations. And in verse 4 of this psalm, the King David, who was himself a shepherd, writes these words: "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." Why? Because you are with me, and your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I do not think that any one of us is actually fully prepared to enter the valley of the shadow of death. We entered that valley unexpectedly at 5 a.m. We went to bed the night before, only to wake up early in the morning, already deep in the valley. It was a dark time, literally dark time, darkness outside with flashes of explosions all around us. And it was also the darkness of a new reality of life, a valley of the shadow of death. Well, many of you are familiar with such sharp turns in life. A diagnosis, a loss of a job, a death of a child. You know very well then that when your life takes such an abrupt turn, that all you are left with is actually what's in your heart. It is these core beliefs in your heart that allow you to make your next step, that define your next step. So when the first round of shelling stopped, when we had a few minutes to assess our new reality, it was our core beliefs in Jesus as a good and almighty shepherd which helped make us our first steps. What did we believe about the Lord at this time? Was He the God nearby, or was He the God far away from us in these circumstances? Would we trust him in this valley when it seemed like all hell broke loose? Is he really good? And as a shepherd, does he really know the way? Does he really know the destination? Is it the best for me? Each of us will enter the valley of the shadow of death one day. Well, let me share with you 2 observations which will help you get ready for the journey, or will help you on the journey if today you are in the valley. Number 1, know the Good Shepherd before you enter the valley. Get to know the Good Shepherd before you enter the valley. You see, when everything was good in the King David's life, he talks about the Lord in the 3rd person singular. He is my good shepherd. He makes me enjoy the green pastures. He leads me to still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me to the right paths. However, when David enters the valley of the shadow of death, the Lord was no longer the 3rd person singular, no longer distant, but he was you. You are with me. You comfort me. You prepare a table for me. You anoint my head with the blessings of your presence. So why this change? Well, this change from he to you means personal, intimate relationship with the Lord, personal knowledge of who God is. It is your personal relationship of trust with God. What you know about the Lord in the good days of your life will manifest itself in the darkness of the valley. The way you follow the Lord through green, sunlit pastures of life will determine how you will follow the Lord through the valley of the shadow of death. And the more you know, the more you get to know the Lord, the more you develop relationships of trust with Him today, the deeper your relationships with God today, the more you will notice and the more will you experience His presence and direction and care for you in the days of the valley. One day you will be in your valley of the shadow of death. It is just a matter of time. So why not get ready now? Do you know the Good Shepherd? Do you have the Good Shepherd? Do you really know Jesus Christ as the shepherd of your life? Do you have personal relationships with Him today? And will you trust Him? Friend, come to know the Good Shepherd personally today before you enter the valley. Because when you enter your valley, that will be everything you are left with. Get to know the Lord, the Good Shepherd, before your valley. Number 2, cling on to the Lord when in the valley. Cling on to the Lord when in the valley. King David was himself a shepherd, and the Lord called him to his service when David was literally tending for his father's sheep on the pasture. And David knew well those hidden dangers of those dark and narrow gorges so deep that the sunshine never comes through to the bottom. And oftentimes David had to lead his flock through such gorges to a better pasture. With his rod and with his staff, he would count his sheep and he would guide them, and he would also fight off the wild beasts, protecting his flock. Now, David translates his experiences to his personal relationship with the Lord, whose heart he knew so well. And David says, "You are with me, and your rod and your staff, they comfort me." What could sheep really do in the dark gorge? They could simply walk by the shepherd's side. No faster, no slower. Simply walk by the shepherd's side. And friend, this is the only thing you and I can do in our valley of the shadow of death. Every day, every step of the way, you can cling onto the Lord by faith. And when you are running to shelter, hiding from those bombs, and when those shells explode around your church, and when the missiles hit your community, never leave the shepherd's side. Simply keep walking by the good shepherd. No faster, no slower. Keep walking. And this is precisely what the church in Ukraine has been doing. We do not see the future. We are in a very dark valley, but we still bring food packages to the hungry people in the community. We still give out hot meals to those who cannot provide for themselves. We give and distribute medication to those who are suffering. We serve as chaplains with our troops in the front line, but also with so many young widows and so many newly orphaned children in our towns and in our communities. We still support and we still send Ukrainian missionaries to go to other countries of the world. How is it possible? How are we still able to do that? Well, we simply walk by the shepherd's side. No slower, no faster. And we trust that the good shepherd knows the destination. And we find comfort as we walk along with the Lord. But how can I be sure of that? How can I know that He is good? How can I trust Him when I cannot see Him in the darkness of my valley? Is there an objective reality that I can cling on to that would assure me that He has the best destination possible for me and that He is able to protect me on the way? Yes, there is. It is the objective reality of Jesus Christ. Jesus left the glory of heaven and He entered this dark world of suffering and pain, both yours and mine. And He lived among us. And His love and His mercy, they shone like the light of man, the light of the world in the darkness of this valley. He walked into the very valley of death because He laid down His life on the cross for you and for me. And He walked out of this valley by rising from the grave. In that gorge, He laid down His life so that you may have light, so you may one day have life in abundance, the good destination, so that you may know His voice and find comfort on your way. He is the good shepherd. And friend, in your valley, just like I am in mine, you can let the good shepherd lead the way. You can simply walk by Jesus' side. You can let Jesus, the light of the world, be your light in your valley. And when you cannot see your next step, cling on to the good shepherd. Walk by his side. No faster, no slower. I'm still learning. And you can learn too. And you will see that the he of the sunlit pasture and the you in the dark valley is the same, because Jesus does not change. Jesus Christ is the Good Shepherd. When we entered our valley on the cold February night, we could not see that we would actually go through this valley for 500 days. When we couldn't foresee that 500 days later, literally millions of Ukrainians will be able to see the hands and the feet of Jesus in our churches, in our believers who are suffering, but who are also serving. We could not see that over 30,000 people will begin to attend our churches. We could not see that over 4,000 people would be baptized as new believers. We could not think that over 100 new churches would be planted, specifically in the areas which were devastated by the aggressors the most. We couldn't even dream that during these 500 days, several hundred Bible study groups and 87 churches would be planted by the Ukrainian refugees around Europe. We couldn't dream that dozens of Ukrainians will become missionaries in exile. We couldn't foresee that our Ukrainian missionaries who were on the field when the war began would continue and they would stay and persevere on the field faithfully with even more opportunities than they ever had before. How was it possible? Because we simply walked by the shepherd's side. And friend, let Jesus, the Good Shepherd, lead you through the valley today. And if you do not have that Good Shepherd yet, even today, you can open your heart to Him and you could say, Jesus Christ, I need you. I need you as a Good Shepherd to lead me. I need you to cling on to you in the dark valley of the shadow of death in my life today. Will you come into my life as the light of the world? I believe that you died for my sin, that you came into the very darkness of my valley and you rose from the grave. You overcame. You are the King. You are in control even when I don't see you. And I trust you. And my friend, will you get to know Jesus today more before you enter the valley? Will you cling on to Jesus when you find yourself in the valley one day? Will you be able to say to Jesus, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For you, personal relationship with your Savior, you are with me. And your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Let us pray. Father in heaven, we are grateful for your love and that in your mercy you do not allow us to stumble over in the darkness by ourselves. You sent your beloved Son, Jesus, into our reality, into our darkness, in our pain and suffering, to lead us to the best pasture there is, even through our valley. And even if we don't see you, we can trust you, and we can know that you are good. So help us get to know you before we enter the valley. And for those of us in the valley, let us cling on to you every single day, every single minute, when life doesn't make sense, just to keep walking by your side, no faster, no slower. We surrender our lives to you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, may all God's people say, Amen. God bless you.